Okay, so this is the basic knobology for the turbo. The on button is right up here in the left-hand corner of the screen. Just the general outline of the keyboard. You have the hard keys. Here's the keyboard. These are the soft keys. The soft keys are associated with changes in settings that you can do here on the screen. We have the touchpad with all the ways to freeze and annotate the image. The key points of depth here to adjust the depth. Zoom is a subset of depth, and then the gain settings: overall gain, near field, and far field gain. On this side we have all of our modes. 2D is the B mode, or brightness mode. Color is a color Doppler, which gives you blue and red, blue away, red toward, or BART, B-A-R-T. The Doppler button is quantitative Doppler. It's gives you a gate where you can measure flow, and it gives you a quantitative or numerical representation of flow. And then M mode stands for motion mode, which can be used for detecting fetal heart rate and so forth. We have a machine that has multiple connects with the different transducers. We have 3 transducers connected. We have the phased array, which has a square footprint. That's good for cardiac imaging. We have a linear array with a small footprint. That's good for vascular imaging, small parts. Has a higher resolution. And then we have a curvilinear that has a larger footprint. It's very good for deeper penetration, things such as the abdominal aorta. Low frequency, high frequency, and on this low frequency probe. So when you're looking at this knobology, sometimes I'll say that you have to have a primary, secondary, and tertiary ways to improve your image. The primary way, if the image is not quality, is to change the depth and the gain, make things as large as possible on the screen, and that includes using the zoom button. If you hit zoom, it'll create a box on the screen, and then you hit zoom again, and it'll blow up whatever's in that box. To get out of that, you can either hit zoom or you can hit 2D. So depth is a real important thing to change, make things as large as possible. The gain's another one to change. I would usually start with the overall gain. If you turn this counterclockwise, it'll turn it and make it more darker. Clockwise will make it more brighter. So it's kind of like brightness, and it changes the signal that's returning to the probe with the overall gain. If you want to manipulate the gain even further, you can change the near and far field gain. They do have a auto gain button on this. If you hit this button, what the computer will do is it'll analyze an area that's black or anechoic and make sure that that is a consistent black, and it'll change all the tones according to that. And so auto gain can be used to change the whole gain of the picture. So depth and gain are 2 of the most important ones. After that, what I would like to do is I'll go up to these soft keys for my secondary approach to improve the image. The primary, depth and gain. The secondary one will be frequency and focal zone. On this turbo machine, we will hit the button, the far one on the left. Gen is a general frequency, and the focal zone in the middle. If we toggle that, pen will give you a lower frequency in a penetrating mode, give you the focal zone in the far field, while res gives you a higher resolution, a focal zone in the near field, and a higher frequency. So this is how you change frequency and focal zone with the turbo, these gen, res, or pen. You can basically keep it in gen for those middle-sized patients. The bigger patients, a penetrating mode, and then a smaller patient or thinner patient, the res mode. Right next to it is a button that's the dynamic range. The dynamic range is from the blackest black to the whitest white of the grayscale. If you change this to have more dynamic range, or more decibels in dynamic range, it becomes a smoother image, more gray. If you get less dynamic range, it'll have less gray and it'll appear more pixelated. So sometimes you can change those according to dynamic range. There are some advanced settings. The multi-beam technology is on this turbo. You can toggle that on or off. Just remember, when you're doing thoracic imaging, you don't want any of these filters on. You want to take those off because you're actually looking for artifacts. These will decrease the artifacts that return. So multi-beam, you can turn that on and it will improve the image. Those are pretty much the main ways that I will improve the image. Again, primary, depth and gain. Secondary, the frequency and focal zone, and then the tertiary, the dynamic range or the multi-beam.